Have you ever thought about doing another collaboration video because the first collaboration video went really well and you're really excited and you just really love this community and you love hearing people's opinions about various things and love asking them questions that may or may not be a little bit open-ended, so it makes everybody answer in a very specific way and you love it and it's really fun? Because that's me. Hello everybody, this is That Manga Dude and welcome to another collaboration video. Yes sir, boss, I managed to ask a variety of different people to come and join this video and give their opinions on the specific question that I asked. So the question was, what is the manga series that got you into manga? And I like to elaborate because obviously that's pretty open-ended. So I said, whether that is the first series you ever read or the first manga that turned you into a manga fan, feel free to talk about it. And I had quite a few creators and various people chime in and give their opinions, whether through audio or through video, and I cannot wait to get into this video. It's gonna be so much fun, and I'm so happy and excited that so many people were willing to be a part of it. So I'm gonna send this video over to our first collab person, and that is going to be Axelablaze. Let's go!
Before I was a manga fan, I was an anime fan. But growing up in the 90s, I didn't know that anime was anime. In the 90s and early 2000s, you had Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, and Flint the Time Detective running alongside Spider-Man, Reboot, and Jackie Chan Adventures. To young Axel, it was all cartoons. The bridge from anime to manga came in the early 2000s thanks to two things: Yu-Gi-Oh! And the monthly US Shonen Jump magazine. I was all in on Yu-Gi-Oh! From the get-go, cards and everything, and watching new episodes on Kids WB on Saturday mornings was like a weekly ritual. So when a kid in my 6th grade class brought in Shonen Jump with Yu-Gi-Oh! On the cover, I was blown away, and it was showing me scenes I'd never seen in the show. I also finally realized that manga and anime were not just comics and cartoons. I grew up with 4Kids Yu-Gi-Oh! Being censored to hell, so this darker take on Yu-Gi-Oh! Was wild to me, and I still vividly remember Yugi playing against Mokuba with capsule monsters, and that spurred me on to read the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga and more thanks to my public library. Shout out to summer reading programs. Dragon Drive, Buso Rankin, Ranma, ROD, and more, but it all started out with Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's still a series that means so much to me. Now I'm on a mission to collect all of the US Shonen Jump issues and manga in general. It is funny looking at it years later though, because we've got art from the Battle City tournament on the front, and chapters from Pre-Duelist Kingdom in the pages. Big thanks to That Manga Dude for giving me a chance to reflect on some good manga memories. And if you like hearing about manga both new and old, come check me out at Axelablaze Productions, where I'm trying to read 365 manga in 2025.
Alright, thank you so much, Axelablaze, for joining this video, and I have to agree, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is such an important series to me specifically. It was one of the ones that eventually I ended up becoming super hooked with, and because of 4Kids, I was watching the anime as well, so I totally get it. I'm like, that's almost me as well, but there is one specific manga which I will talk about at the end of the video for me, what that manga is. But yes, definitely Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of those formative manga for me for sure. And now let's throw it over to Bunko Bun with their entry.
Hey there, my name is Bunko Bun. I'm just your friendly neighborhood manga tuber disguised as a VTuber. When I think of the first mangas I consumed, the titles that come to mind are Beastars, Demon Slayer, and Food Wars. However, if we're talking about the first manga that turned me into a manga fan, I'd have to go with Terraformers. A sci-fi horror action manga about genetically enhanced combat astronauts exterminating mutated cockroaches inhabiting Mars. Once I started to read it, it definitely redefined manga for me. I felt fear and fascination when I was looking longingly into the eyes of the cockroaches. The fight sequences felt action-packed, brutally gory, and shockingly suspenseful. The transformations were not only insanely hype, but incredibly informative in regards to the insect kingdom. Not to mention the drama. The political communication between Earth and Mars was an intense ping-pong battle. There were romantic triangles between the astronauts. There was so much betrayal of greed and power, and not to mention the whiplash of character death sequences. Think Game of Thrones level of drama in which the White Walkers are giant Giga Chad cockroaches. Now, is Terraformers my top 10 manga of all time? Not quite. However, Terraformers showed me that manga wasn't just for kids. Adults can take a center stage in the story, and relationships portrayed in a story can go way further than siblings, classmates, or teachers. They can be complicated, confusing, and heavy. It may not be a 10 out of 10, but it's thanks to Terraformers that my love of manga took off. Though I don't know how I landed so far down the degenerate rabbit hole.
Thank you so much for your entry, and I personally have not read Terraformers. It is a series that I've always been semi-interested in, and I'd always seen it on bookshelves over here at Barnes & Noble, but I was never like super interested. But the way you describe it makes me want to check it out, so maybe I will in the near future. And now I'm going to throw it over to my boy, Manga Crash.
So when you told me to make this video, to record a bit for this video, you told me to talk about the first manga I've ever read, or the manga that made me a manga fan. I feel like those answers are slightly different because, well, the first manga I've ever read was Naruto. And I read that specifically was Naruto Shippuden, and because, or the parts that end up being Naruto Shippuden, because the manga, it's just Naruto, but whatever. The reason why I did that is because my internet connection at the time mostly sucked, so someone gave me the episodes of Naruto, of the original Naruto, in like a DVD or something like that. But then I didn't had internet connection to really watch the rest, so I jumped into the manga. I did that for Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Fullmetal Alchemist, and I think a couple of others. But the reason why I say that those manga didn't really make me a manga fan, and the key word of being a manga fan, is I think those were more of the things that made me originally an anime fan. I was reading them because I wanted to experience those stories, not because I wanted to read the manga. If I could experience those stories through the anime, at the time, not now, but at the time, I would have preferred to do that. The first manga that made me happy that I read the manga was Love Ina. Love Ina is the first manga I've ever completed, so it is still kinda in the firsts. It is one of the first manga I've ever read. And the difference between Love Ina and the rest of the stuff that I named and the rest of the stuff that I was reading at the time is that this is not a battle shonen, not an action manga, but a rom-com, a ecchi arum rom-com. And rom-coms are far easy to read in manga, especially if you're a newcomer, than something like a battle shonen. I think because of that, because rom-coms were not only easier to read in manga, but also a lot of the rom-coms that are adapted into anime aren't completed, and a lot of popular rom-coms and non-popular rom-coms aren't even adapted into anime. It opened the doors for me to actually look up and read and want to read more manga of the genre. And that, in turn, is what I think made me a manga fan, more so than all of the other big titles that I still love nonetheless. Because I was finding something that I could only find in this format. And that led me to understand why this format worked, what the things were that I loved about this format, about this medium. And that, instead, made me a manga fan. It wasn't Naruto or Bleach or One Piece, it was Love Ina.
Okay, I have to say, I've only read the first volume of Love Hina, and I did enjoy it, and it's a series that I've always been kind of curious to get into, because like I've heard very mixed things. I've heard some people say that it's really, really great, and I've heard other people say it's really, really bad. But I don't know. Maybe it is actually very entertaining, and I'm glad that like we get to see like this kind of mix, like right. We get to see like what I kind of expected people to answer, when I did not expect people to answer. So it's really fun. This is so much fun. I love it so much. I'm gonna throw it now over to May, also known as Hey Ginger Manga on Instagram.
Hello, it's May, also known as Hey Ginger Manga on Instagram. I've been collecting manga since I was in middle school, so it's been many years since I got into the hobby. I have my cousin to thank for first introducing me to it. She would babysit my brother and I and brought over a new volume of either Dragon Ball or Sailor Moon each time for me to read. Sailor Moon especially made me fall in love with manga. The magical girl concept was really fascinating to me as a kid. It would take me so long just to get through a single volume of Sailor Moon because I would just stare at the gorgeous art. As for the first ever manga that I bought, it was Volume 1 of Yotsuba. I believe I found it at a book fair during middle school, and I still have that copy. Buying one for myself really made me want to start a collection of my own. From then on, I would save my allowance in order to spend it on the latest manga that I was obsessed with. One Piece was the first series that became a quick favorite of mine. That was the first shonen series I ever bought, and it still holds a special place in my heart. I've made plenty of friends through the anime manga community, and I'm grateful I got into it as young as I did. It's been a constant comfort in my life, and I wouldn't have wanted to be an artist without it. I'm so glad that it's become more mainstream now, and that I didn't give up on my passion back when people thought it was weird.
Thank you so much for your entry, and I am so happy that we get to see such a different kind of answer to my question, right? Because the question is like so open-ended. It can be taken in so many different ways, and I love that the way you took it. Hey Ginger Manga, I really like, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really great. Now I'm going to throw this over to LumRanmaYasha, one of the amazing podcast people, and from the Manga Mavericks podcast.
The very first volume of manga that I ever bought was Dragon Ball Z Volume 18. This is the volume that features Gohan's transformation into Super Saiyan 2. I was just 9 years old. It was March of 2005. I had just gotten into the anime just 2 months prior. I was obsessed with it, and seeing that there was a comic version, I actually wanted to check it out, especially because I hadn't got into this material in the anime yet. And so I picked it up. I remember reading it in the car on the way to a dinner party at one of my parents' friends' houses, and being very confused how to read it. Like, I knew from the back of the book that you're supposed to read the pages cover to end, right to left, but each individual page itself, I was still reading left to right, which made for a very confusing experience to follow at times. But it's a testament to Toriyama's masterful cartooning that even with me never having picked up a unflipped manga before, his page layout still guided me through the pages so naturally and seamlessly that I picked up on the correct way to read the book without even consciously realizing it. And Dragon Ball was unlike any graphic novel or comic that I had ever read. I really appreciated the clean line work and a lack of excessive shading or color, which often turned me off from mainstream American comics back then because it'd be too much visual information for me to follow. And it would make the art feel stiff, often kind of like a chore to read. But despite how simplified and streamlined Toriyama's art was comparatively, his art is full of such strong line work and posing and paneling. The art doesn't look too cluttered, and it still leaves a lot of impact. And that made reading his pages feel so easy and engrossing. And it made me want to keep turning the pages until I finished the book.
Thank you so much for your entry. I love the Manga Mavericks podcast. I think it's really great. It's very informative. And they also just recently started doing publishing and publishing Japanese manga over here into English, and it's so freaking cool. Congratulations to you guys. And thank you so much for your entry. Dragon Ball Z is such a great series, and I feel like it's kind of the entry series for a lot of people into English manga. So I'm really happy that someone did mention it. And now I'm going to throw this over to Manga Captor.
Hi, I'm Manga Captor, and the series that got me into manga is none other than Full Metal Alchemist. Before reading Full Metal Alchemist, I had dabbled a bit with manga, but nothing had truly caught my attention until I stumbled across this series at my local library. You've likely heard about this series considering that it's wildly popular, and it deserves all the praise it has received over its lifetime. In a nutshell, this manga follows the Elric brothers who have to deal with the repercussions of a failed alchemy experiment. The oldest brother, Edward, loses an arm and a leg, and his younger brother, Alphonse, loses his entire body, becoming nothing but a soul encased in a suit of armor. They set out on a journey to find the one thing that can restore their bodies, the Philosopher's Stone. Now, that's just a brief summary of the story. Really, this story goes in many directions, each one being purposeful and detailed. I personally love this series because it does not hold back. At times, the story frightened me, it disgusted me, it made me laugh, it made me cry. It completely had me in its clutches. And that is not an exaggeration. At the time that I was reading this series, I would wake up at 5 a.m. every day just to read a volume or two before work. My curiosity towards manga as a whole really started to grow because of this series. I was just amazed that a powerful story could be told through panels with just a few sentences scattered here and there. Without Full Metal Alchemist, I don't even think I would have started a YouTube channel. It's truly a special series that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Thank you so much for your entry. Full Metal Alchemist, another one of those series that's like super important to my manga journey. It came a little bit after the series I'm going to be mentioning, but definitely one of those ones that really helped me become a manga fan as well. And now I'm going to throw it over to Crystal Neko-chan.
The first series that really got me into manga was Kodacha. Kodacha is about Sana, an energetic and positive elementary school girl that's also a child actress. And I'll never forget the first volume because it really stuck with me. In volume 1, Sana's fed up with the boys in her class because they constantly bully the teacher and disrupt class. They're led by an aloof boy named Akito, and one day the boys take it too far and Sana faces Akito, telling him to knock it off. Things escalate as their revenge turns against her, and Sana decides she needs to find dirt in Akito to keep him in line, and gets help from his friend to get it. She manages to do so, and class is finally in order, but she soon learns that there's something much more to Akito and why he misbehaves. She learns that his remaining family treats him coldly and blames him for his mother's death, and takes it into her hands to help him and repair their family. This is just one of the storylines where Kodacha takes a simple storyline and explores more mature themes. And it's that deeper, darker storytelling coupled with a young, friendly heroine and blossoming romance that really intrigued me with this series.
Thank you so much for your entry, and I have not personally read Kodacha. One, because it's very difficult to find. It's an old Tokyo Pop series. I believe it's, well, I don't believe it is out of print. And yeah, I didn't start reading shoujo series until very recently, that's completely on me. Yeah, and I'm beginning my very, very, very fast trek into such an amazing demographic. And one day I hope to read Kodacha, and I hope that it gets reprinted at some point. Now, let's throw it on over to Orange Kryptonite.
Thank you for the opportunity. The first manga that I picked was Demon Slayer back in 2021. Around that time, the first season of the anime was already available, and after I finished watching it, I wanted to see where the story was heading. So I picked up one of the volumes in the middle of the series, and it sparked my curiosity. So I kept buying more volumes as they were being released because my curiosity never seemed to be satisfied, and I wanted to know more. So I believe that is how I actually started collecting physical manga, which I still do even today. However, I would also like to mention that during the wait times for each volume, I also explored a certain interesting manga called Chainsaw Man, which was just part 1 at that time. Yes, that's quite a big leap from Demon Slayer to Chainsaw Man. When I read the first few chapters, I was absolutely stunned, and I couldn't believe what I had just read. And I think it is the reason why I started to appreciate and explore many more manga series. I'm still curious about new and old series, and I hope to be curious forever. And so, yes, that is my manga collecting and reading origin stories. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for your entry, and I really appreciate seeing like newer manga fans with newer series, ones that came out during the 2010s and 2020s, getting into manga even now, and it's just awesome to see. Demon Slayer and Chainsaw Man, obviously huge staples of the shonen category / demographic of the 2010s and 2020s, so really neat to see someone saying those are the series that brought them into manga. And now I'm going to throw it on over to Geeks at Parent.
Hello, my name is Scott. I'm with the GTP, and during the time of COVID, there was a very, very popular show, it seems like everyone was watching, called Tiger King. And you know, that just didn't seem like it for me, so I decided to go a different route and start watching anime again, which I have not done for 10 plus years. Who would have thought that a little known anime, at least I've never heard of it before, but checking out for myself, the one and only My Hero Academia would be the thing that sucks me down to that deep rabbit hole of manga collecting. And the reason why is I just had to know what was going to happen next. I was so sucked into the story. I was like, this is so cool with superheroes. Why isn't there something like this in American comics? And then I was like, what is this with manga? I knew about manga, but I didn't really ever read one before. Just watching anime, but I knew a lot of animes were inspired or following hopefully the source material of a manga itself. So for those reasons alone, the reason why I got into this massive rabbit hole here that I just cannot stop because I absolutely love stories, cannot just get enough of them, is because of My Hero Academia, which caused me to watch more anime. I'm like, oh, I like Dr. Stone. What's going to happen next? What about Demon Slayer? I saw the first season of Demon Slayer. I'm like, oh, I gotta find out what's going to happen next. And because of that, I could not wait. I went and I picked up the manga, even though, of course, we could have read it digitally. But there's something nice about a physical book in your hand. So that's how I got started into manga collecting.
Thank you so much for your entry. And yep, another one that I've not read personally, but I definitely understand is a series that really brought people in. My Hero Academia, obviously another huge staple of the shonen community within the 2010s. Very popular series. One that I have not particularly read, and I'm not necessarily interested in reading, but I do understand the hype. The art is very, very good across the board. I think Horikoshi has some great stuff just going on throughout that entire series. And now I'm going to throw it on over to the Horse Charles.
When we talk about a series that got us into manga, for me it's a bit different because I really credit that to Shoujo Beat. Not the imprint by Viz as you know it today. Actually, in the early 2000s, they had a magazine similar to the ones in Japan with various series in it. I first saw a Shoujo Beat magazine in a corner store, and what really drew me to it was the manga on the cover, which was Absolute Boyfriend. That was definitely the first series that got me into manga. It was written by famous mangaka Yu Watase, who is most known for Fushigi Yugi, but this was my first introduction to both manga and shoujo at the same time. It's actually a series that has a lot of romance shoujo staples, such as love triangles, a blonde-haired second lead who didn't win against the main lead with black hair. I don't know what the obsession was with black-haired stern guys, but it was kind of an unwritten rule for that time. If there was a love triangle and the main lead had black hair, he's winning. It was also my first case of heartbreak. I am a staunch love triangle enjoyer, I will admit, but that also does make you vulnerable to be disappointed, especially with this manga. Yes, the guy I was rooting for was a robot. I do remember his name. It was Knight. I don't care. He was sweet, and I was so upset with the ending, but it still holds a special place in my heart, and has actually aged pretty well, and is still super cute and funny. So thanks Shoujo Beat for showing me not only Absolute Boyfriend, but Godchild and Nana, which were also huge obsessions for me, and definitely formed me as a person, I would have to say.
And thank you so much for your entry. And another one that I love this answer specifically because it's like, you know, I tend to agree when it comes to an overall reading experience. My first ever experience was a Shonen Jump magazine in English. So hearing someone read the Shoujo Beat magazine as well, which I have never personally seen or read, but I'm really happy that people were able to read that. And man, I really wish we had physical manga magazines again, regardless of demographic, because I just think they were so cool and they were so much fun. And I get it. I understand why they're gone, but I wish they were still around. yeah, it would be really cool to see that. Now, it is time for my entry. Ooh, we waited till the end of the video for my entry. And as I've, kind of mentioned throughout the video while listening and watching everybody else's entries and things like that, there are quite a few series that I think got me into manga, but I think there's one specifically that I am going to talk about, but I just want to mention, obviously, like I said, Yu-Gi-Oh! Earlier, really, really important series for me at a young age. Naruto, more of the anime than the manga specifically. Shonen Jump magazine, September 2006 issue, was my first ever experience with manga, but I think the manga that made me into a manga fan. I'm going to show the series, and then I'm going to show the specific volume that I feel like made me into a manga fan. So that series, which I don't think will be surprising to most people, just because of how much I've talked about the series on this channel, is going to be Shaman King. I absolutely love this series. This series means so much to me. Shaman King is one of those series that it's funny, it was born out of a love for wanting to be contrarian as a kid. I was like, everyone was talking about Naruto or Bleach or Death Note, but there was Shaman King, and I was like, oh, you know what, I want to be cool. I want to talk about a series that people aren't talking about. Shaman King is so cool. And then I started reading it, and I was like, holy crap, I actually really do like this series. This series is absolutely amazing from start to finish. I genuinely love it. And I think the manga, the specific volume, is going to be volume 9 of Shaman King. Yes, so this volume I bought just before my 8th grade DC trip. So my school, we decided to go to DC and do like the DC, Pennsylvania, New York trip, whatever you want to call it. And I had this volume on me. I must have read it at least 10, 12 times during that trip. I have read the crap out of this volume. I know exactly what happens. This is the Taoren, family arc, so I guess what you could call it, and I love this volume. You could see that it has been read to death. I have this thing means so much to me. This series means so much to me, and really was like the series that kind of just pushed me into this wonderful hobby, this wonderful thing called manga, and I can't thank Shaman King enough, specifically Volume 9, for this found love of such a wonderful medium of art and of literature and whatever else you want to call it. So yeah, that's my piece. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to every single person. I have all of their links are going to be down below if you want to watch, or if you want to see their content, whether it's them posting on Twitter, them posting on YouTube, them posting on Instagram. They're from all across multiple mediums, multiple social medias, so I will be posting their links below. I'll also be posting, hopefully if they work, like the timestamps so that you know exactly who's where, so it's a lot easier for you to see that as you're watching the video. Like I said, thank you so much to everybody who participated. It means so much. It's so much fun doing these collab videos. Man, I love it so much. I love this community. I love building this community, and I love interacting with this community. So I think this is such a great way for people to find out more about various creators, maybe creators who are a little bit smaller, not necessarily like those gigantic creators or like the One Piece fandom only kind of people or like stuff like that. So I like to spread my wings and try to invite as many interesting and fun, cool people. And I appreciate everybody that participated. It means so much to me as a creator as well. So you know what to do. You can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. You know what to do. Those are all appreciated things. And also, the question of the day is, what is the manga that got you into manga? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!